Alright, welcome to this video. Today I'll be talking about working with lists in Python programming. In my previous videos, I've talked about working with numbers, working with strings, and you may need to go check them out. But in this one, I'm talking about working with lists. Now, what can we refer to as lists? List is just like a big, I just wanted to understand what list can be termed to. It's just like a big cupboard that has several segments stacked together. So when you open one segment, you have a content there, just like having a variable, a container. You have another segment, you have another content there, you have another segment, another content there. So, but it's like a complete cabinet, or should I say a cupboard that has several segments or shelf, something like that. So that's what we refer to as list. Maybe when I start writing the codes, you understand. So let's just open our shell and walk around lists. Whenever you want to name a list in Python programming, you name it this way. For example, if I have a list and name of the list is maybe football clubs, I think I'll prefer to use small letters, clubs. Okay, now the name of our list is football clubs. So when I want to put the list will be inside squared brackets. Inside square brackets, we have our list. So the first, let's say the first football club is Liverpool FC. So of course, Liverpool FC is a string. You may need to watch my previous video to understand what strings really are. So Liverpool FC is Liverpool FC. That's the first string. Then the second, you use a comma to separate. The second one can be Arsenal FC. Arsenal FC. And let's say the third one is Chelsea FC. Chelsea FC. So we have three football clubs in this our list. So this first one here, Liverpool FC, is the first element in the list. This second one, Arsenal FC, is the second element in the list. The third one here, Chelsea FC, is the third element in the list. And so you can, okay, if I want to walk around this, you can check the positioning on every element. You can access the positions of every element. I told us before that in computer programming we start counting from number 0 and we move up. So this Liverpool FC being the first element is on position 0. This is in position 1, position 2. So if I want to access Arsenal, for example, all I just need to do is to put football clubs, that's the name of this, and I put the position number. So Arsenal is position number 1. This is 0, this is 1. So this is 1, and that prints Arsenal FC. So you can see Arsenal FC is position 1. If I want to get Chelsea, I just do the same thing, football underscore clubs, and then we have number 2, and that prints out Chelsea FC. So that's how to work with lists and elements of list in Python programming. List is just like, you can have a list that has both strings like this and numbers in the same list. I'm going to show you an example as we proceed. But before then, let me show you how to change the content, content in every element. For example, football underscore clubs. Let me say position 1, which is Arsenal. If I want to change it, the content to become Man U. Okay, capital letter M. Man United. Okay, let me just use Man U, for example. And I decided to, okay, let me print football clubs now. Let me print football clubs. You can see that now the element that was element the second element, which was Arsenal FC before, has changed now to Man U. So this is a way you can change the content of any list. Just you can by accessing the position. We call it the index also in programming, but this is like the position. So the first position was Arsenal. Remember, we're starting from 0, so position 1 was Arsenal, but now we change it to Man U. And when I called that same list, you can see when I printed the list, you can see it has changed to Man U. Now there's another thing you can do in you can add to the list. For example, you have Liverpool, Man U, Chelsea. We can add a fourth element to this list, and the way to do that is just to use foot. We use a function known as append. So we have football clubs, football underscore clubs dot append, append is the name of the function. Then inside this open and close parentheses or bracket, you now put the content you want to append. So let's say what you want to append to this is maybe, let me use Man City for example. So Manchester City, but I'll use Man City. So Man City. So I've appended this to the list football club. So if I want us to check what if it has been added, I just call again football clubs. Of course, remember we're working with what they call it. We're working with the shell. So as you write anything, interpret it immediately. And so you can see Manchester City has been added to the list. So we have Liverpool, Man U, Chelsea, and Man City. So you can do that. So let me assume we have another list, but this one now is a list of numbers. Remember, this one is a list of clubs which are strings. We have another list of numbers. Let's say grades, for example, and the grades are, let me say, 97, 76, 89, and let's say 80, 78. So we have, these are the grades. Now because these are numbers, we don't need to put them inside quotes. I've done this in my previous videos working with numbers, so you have to understand that you don't need to put it inside quotes. Now the point I want to bring out with is that you can add two what they call it, two lists together. So if you have football clubs plus grades, you have to be mindful of the exact spelling and the you should know that Python, everything, variables and list names are case sensitive. So there must be a mistake. Let me see. See, I use grade instead of grades. So you have to always use the exact spelling and case, whether upper or lower case. So you can see now it prints it out. So you can see I've added the two lists together. I have Liverpool FC, Man U, Chelsea, Man City. Then the other one now adds behind 97, 76, 89, 78. So that's the way you can add list. Now it doesn't mean that you have changed the content of football club. Football club still has these 4 elements in them, while grade still has this 4, but now we just added them together to print a longer list. So this is a way to do that. There's another function similar to this append function that is used. You use append function here to add Man City. You can use append function to remove, to also remove, you can use pop function to remove. So as time goes on, I'll be making use of some of these functions. You see there are a lot of functions that you can play around with list, but I think I'll just be stopping with all these I've worked with. Okay, one last thing I want to talk about is slicing list. I did that in my previous video where we sliced we work with slicing strings. Now slicing is just to maybe either to reduce, to work with a range of elements. For example, now football, we have Liverpool, Man U, Chelsea, and Man City. Now if I want to just ignore Liverpool and start with Man U, ignore Man City, and just print only Man U and Chelsea, I can slice the whole list. And what I just need to do is just write football clubs. Then to slice, what is the element I'm starting with? This is element 0, element 1. I'm starting from element 1. I want element 1. So this is 1, this element 2. So I want element 2 to be included. So I have to put 2 plus 1. So I'll put stop at 3. That's the way it works here. So if I'm to run this, you see it prints just Mario and Chelsea. So what this did was to say, okay, what is the first element, the element with position 1 in football clubs, and that is Man U. This is position 0, this is position 1. Then what is the element before the third position? That is Chelsea. Chelsea is before the third position. Of course, those is 0, 1, 2, 3. So that's why I do starting with 1 and before 3. That's how we have Man U and Chelsea. So that's how slicing works. You may want to print from the back. You have football clubs, and you may want to print from the back. Now, if this is position number from our football clubs variable, let's look at this. Position 0, 1, 2, 3. So from the back, you want to print from the back, you start from -1, -2, -3. So not -0, take note of that, -1. So if I'm to print -1 now, to print just Man City, which is the last one from the back. So I think I've touched a lot about working with strings with Python. Kindly like this video, share with your friends, subscribe to this channel, click the bell notification to be notified whenever a new video is dropped. I see you in the next class. Thank you.